Prediction Center should have moved their severe weather risk south. I argued that this should only be in the southern part of Kentucky. I argued that it should go through Bowling Green and maybe get our far southernmost counties. The Storms Prediction Center this morning, not only did they not agree with anything I said, they expanded that severe weather risk further north. And you can see they included Louisville. Beyond that, let me just see what they did with 100% certainty on their late risk, because okay, so they still have this higher risk of tornado probability within our area. So they include Louisville in the enhanced risk. Just for transparency, Louisville had an enhanced risk before the moderate that produced the EF3 in Louisville. That enhanced, if you recall, was on the Sunday before, and Fairdale got hit by a tornado. That was also the day that the tornado touched down in Meade County, went through Hardin and into Bullitt County. There were 5 tornadoes that touched down that day, and about 80 to 90% of our area went under a warning. So you have that as a reference point. 80 to 90% of our area goes under a warning, and 5 tornadoes touched down in an enhanced. So if you're then going to use that information, you're like, okay, last time I went under enhanced, this happened. So we're under an enhanced, including Louisville. That's what I need to expect. I need to expect widespread severe weather with 5 tornado touchdowns. So from here, the Storms Prediction Center put a 10% probability of tornadoes in Louisville, a 10%, and included the northern part of our area under a 5%. Notice the hatched area. They put a 10% chance or greater of a EF2 plus tornado in our area. In that area where the hatched is, that's a significant tornado. An EF2 plus, they have a 10% chance or greater in the southern part of our area. Now, we had the same 2% of an EF2 plus tornado in our area on the moderate risk that occurred in our area on Friday that produced an EF4 tornado in Illinois, an EF3 tornado south of Bloomington, multiple tornadoes in Kentucky, 5 total, which included an EF4 tornado with 170-mile-an-hour winds that was 1 mile wide and that was on the ground for nearly 60 miles. That's the same category. Now, we were under a 15% probability that day for a regular tornado. And lastly, we'll go with their damaging wind threat, which was 30% probability, including Louisville, and a 45% chance of severe weather, damaging winds in the southern part of our area. Let me just say that one more time. A 45% chance of damaging winds within 25 miles of a point in the southern part of our area. Tornado watch was then issued until 11 p.m. Initially included Grayson, Hart, Greene, Taylor, and Adair. And the Weather Service was quite transparent that they expanded this just to give themselves a little pad. And in that, I really don't have a problem with that particular expansion. So here's where we are right now. We've got rain in Louisville. There's not any lightning there. We have an enhanced risk of severe weather in Louisville. Well, maybe it's coming in behind it. We've got rain right now in Hardinsburg, heavy downpours approaching the E-Town area. Notice near Litchfield, thunder and lightning right now. That is weakening. Why? Well, because the line in front of it is stealing the energy. So this right now we're watching. We're watching near Campbellsville, Greensburg, through around Center. And we do have thunder and lightning ongoing here, and I'm going to bring Rick in here briefly because Rick is watching that area really closely. So Rick, you've been watching southern part of our area because we've seen some transient areas of rotation. Where are you seeing that?
Transient off, great way to describe it because it's been back and forth. It's not a constant thing. But around Greensburg, some subtle rotation, and we are also looking about 4,000 feet aloft, which means we're not looking at the bottom of the storm. It's higher up, so the rotation can be a little more prevalent there. But Greensburg, Campbellsville.
And it's a little stronger in Greensburg, probably, fair?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. And that's been back and forth. So the last scan went down, and in some of the recent scans, it's come back up. So I'm keeping an eye on that one. There may be another area of rotation trying to develop, but this is an area where there's no rain out ahead of it around Cane Valley, so it's important to note that these storms are still ingesting some decent air. I mean, it's not crazy high in terms of fuel values, but there is enough to help sustain these. Nothing severe, just to be clear, nothing severe, but these little areas of rotation have me, just on my toes, keeping an eye on it and just to watch it. But like you said, there's nothing really powerful or strong in terms of rotation. It's real subtle stuff.
And Rick DeLuca will continue to watch that. Rick's a great follow. If you don't follow him on Facebook, he's easy to follow. Rick DeLuca on Facebook. He's on Twitter. He's on all locations. Rick's going to continue while I'm doing the video to continue to always have eyes on that radar. And obviously that's very important when we have severe potential here. So remember, that area that we're watching specifically is a little area of rotation. I'll show you very specifically where that is as I scope inside this storm near Greensburg. See that area of rotation between Black Gnat and the Greensburg area? That's it. That's what we're watching here. It's not warned right now. The reason this has generally been transient is because we have a monumental hole in the wind energy across our area. But this then puts the best chance of seeing severe weather into our southeast counties right now, which would include areas like Greensburg, Campbellsville, and Columbia. Can this go northward and generate severe in Louisville? You see what I see. So there are a ton of severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings to the south near Nashville. I mentioned this earlier in the video that a wall was going to set up to the south, and this would ultimately do two things. It would weaken the wind flow monumentally in our area, and it would disrupt some of that moisture transport to the north. So what happens in a sense is that pushes warmer air into the mid-levels, and it mitigates some of the warmth and high dew points we have at the surface and somewhat lowers those fuel values. So yes, we have some fuel out there, but the fuel compared to what we saw on Friday is about a third. And Friday was really, really high end. So you can see that's our low. This is the look outside in Louisville right now. We've seen mammatus clouds. These look like kind of little puffs underneath the clouds. What are they? So the thunderstorms that have generated pushed air into the top of the weather producing part of the atmosphere. Then it spreads out. Since that air rises, it eventually cools more than the atmosphere around it and sinks. And those little puffs you see are the sinking air out there. Louisville temperature is 79 with a dew point of 65. This is the view out of Simpsonville right now. It's not severe. That's the view out of New Albany right now. And you can see the rain and thunderstorms ongoing now in New Albany. And this is the view out of Bardstown currently. So this is what we have ongoing within our area right now. What we are watching are some areas of transient rotation. That means it comes up, comes down around Greensburg. Those are the things we're watching the closest right now. If there was to be a quick spin, we'd see it there, but what you will also notice is that we are cooling at the surface. It's 68 in Campbellsville and it's 70 in Munfordville. So we know the rotational loft is easier to generate. It's harder to get down to the ground because we've cooled it. So what happens is you get a wall, a barrier that stops wind energy from trying to get down to the ground. If we were, let's say, 90 degrees in Greensburg right now, they'd probably issue tornado warnings quite quickly because we don't have that barrier to rotation to getting down to the ground. We can see that the cooler is starting to move in. We have dew points that are fairly high, so this would generate fuel, right? Yeah, you could see. Fuel value is 1,000 to 1,500 units. Okay? 1,000 to 1,500 units of instability. This doesn't obviously necessarily guarantee tornadoes. But what it does do is at least show you that there's some fuel out there. Rick, by the way, I am watching the chat here closely just to make sure. Okay. And just so you guys know, if a tornado warning was issued for one of those areas that we're watching in our southeast, we would end the video, go live on television. Once we're live on TV, you can watch on TV. You could watch through the WDRB+ app. You could go to WDRB.com and stream from there. If we're to see a tornado, and it is possible that you get one, it would be in our southern or southeastern counties. Fuel would then just get obliterated as the rain comes through. But here's the note. The wind energy a mile above the ground, which is really core to generating organized, severe, and particular tornadoes, is very, very weak. It is shown up in every ounce of data. And when I did the video earlier today, I keyed in on this. It's not rocket science. I knew it was there. Everybody that forecast knew it was there. So you can see this is the data, and this is right now. And it does a good job in identifying the strongest storms in our southeast counties near Greensburg and near Campbellsville. And you can see that it's just generally rain with some rumbles of thunder in Louisville. You can see that the strongest storms by 8:30 have probably moved out. However, there still is an area that extends from around Lawrenceburg through around the Greensburg area. Remember, it's already cooled a lot, so if there was severe hail, would be the primary threat. You can see by 9 this continues to pull away from us. Well, okay, Louisville, your severe weather threat has to be coming. That's why the enhanced is there. What's behind the so Storms Prediction Center puts out enhanced yesterday. They go to around the Kentucky parkways, the Western and Bluegrass. It was obvious last night, in my opinion, that Southern Kentucky had the greatest chance of severe. Storms Prediction Center doubles down on that. They move the severe weather risk further north today, including Louisville. The data comes in that makes it very clear that the southern part of Kentucky into Tennessee is where the greatest threat of severe is. They double down and do not change the risk. They issue a tornado watch. The National Weather Service in Louisville acknowledges what we have said, and that is that the better chance of severe is in the southern part of Kentucky. They do not let the watch go further north than the southern part of our area. 4 o'clock after all of this happens, the Storms Prediction Center at 4 puts out another enhanced risk for Louisville. They don't change it, they ignore all the data, and they continue to keep us in this enhanced risk of severe, knowing full well that the data does not indicate that we're going to see severe in Louisville, that all there is fuel, all of the wind energy has been absolutely nuked in our area, and this does not match what we saw in our last enhanced risk, which generated 5 tornadoes in our area, 1 including Fairdale, 1 that went for 30 miles. They continued with that as we had 80% chance of severe weather, 80% chance of our area went under severe weather in the last enhanced. Beyond that, they doubled down on their tornado risk, keeping a 10% chance or greater of an EF2 tornado in the southern part of our area, kept Louisville in a 10% probability of tornadoes, and we're not even going to see anything generally in Louisville. They kept the 30% chance of damaging winds, and they kept the 10% chance of tornadoes in Louisville. Again, I will say this is an embarrassment. All this does is, if you're in Louisville, how do you know what an enhanced risk of severe weather in all of our area? How are you supposed to know the next time they issue one? Is it the enhanced risk that generated 5 tornadoes with 80% chance of our area going under severe warnings? Or is it the kind that doesn't produce any severe weather at all, and you got a 2% chance? Next time we say next time we say there's a 10% chance or greater of an EF2, like what we saw on Friday, you're going to ignore it because you're going to say, Mark, we went under that just a couple days ago, and it produced nothing. So, a little frustrating, but it is where we are. I do not issue the severe weather risks, the Storms Prediction Center does. What I do is I analyze. And all I do in the end of all of this is I want to give you an accurate forecast. All I care about is that you have a place to find something that's accurate, because there are many times that that place is not coming from the Storms Prediction Center. And today was that day. So it's frustrating, but I hope that what I told you last night, what I told you today, what I told you this afternoon in the Facebook Live and on TV through the weather through this evening has helped you and has been something that you could trust. So we're continuing to watch these areas of some of that transient rotation. Right now, we're not seeing a scenario that merits a tornado warning. The area of rotation near Greensburg is now near Campbellsville. It is elevated high up. There's a really diffuse area of rotation, maybe some gusty winds near Pierce, Kentucky, southern part of Greene County, and we're watching it very closely. Rick's got his eyes on this. We know that the Grayson County Emergency Manager has noted that a few trees are down in Grayson County, blocking some road, no reports of injuries, no reports of buildings that are damaged. So from here, I'd like to open it up to questions and answers, and I will say this, guys. I hope that what you see is a guy that cares, and I hope that what you see is somebody cares that when you hear me say that something's bad, that you can take it to the bank. When you hear me say what I said on Friday, that the atmosphere was a volatile spatial environment, that it was potentially violent spatial environment, that it means something to you. And when I tell you that an enhanced like today is bogus, that you guys can trust me. And in the end of all of that, that's what I'm here to do. So let me open it up to some question and answer so that you guys can get your questions answered. And once my food gets here and we believe that the severe threat is completely over, I will end the video. But number one, I would say if we're to see severe, There's two areas we would watch. There's an area near Bonneville. Remember, that's what came out of Grayson County. It does have a little bow. And I'm going to go back to radar real quickly, just because I can keep that up while we're answering questions. And that's a question I get asked a lot, is can you show me radar again? So I'm going to actually put that up behind me when we're talking, so you guys can see it. And I'll put myself down into the corner here. So just so I'm 100% clear on what Rick and I are watching, this little area, this little bow right here, small area of rotation near Greensburg. There is a little bit more of an area near the Campbellsville area that we are watching. These are the areas that we're watching. However, what we know is it's already rain cooled here, and getting rotation down to the ground is more challenging. So opening up the question, watching from Greensburg, from Gage and April, we are watching it. We'll keep an eye very close, so just know again, Rick, you can see right to my right is eyes buried on the radar. If I'm answering your questions, if Rick sees something that bothers him, he's going to let me know and we will update you. So just because I'm answering questions, don't think we're not watching for you. Somebody asked, do I dye my hair or is it natural? Fair question. That is called severe weather right there, my friend.
All natural.
All natural. And Rick,
salt and pepper.
So Rick and I, Rick's saying salt and pepper. We both actually, after doing, going through many severe weather seasons together, Rick used to deny that he had any. He can no longer deny that to himself.
I'm very salty now.
He has now come back down to reality and accepted it. It's been a tough season. So I can tell you both of us have more gray hair after this season. My family and I see and hear the passion from you every night in what you do from Joe, and I appreciate that. I would love for every time I show you a Storms Prediction Center graphic, it be entirely 100% accurate. I don't ever want to disagree. It's not what I do, but it is something that I mention. New severe thunderstorm warning just issued. So this one, let me get you the information on it. You can see it there on the corner of my screen. So this is a new severe thunderstorm warning for Hardin, LaRue, and Nelson County. Remember, that's where I said that little bowing segment is occurring. Weather Service went and decided and chose to go with a severe thunderstorm warning here. Severe thunderstorm warning is in effect until 8:30. Let me give you a track on this one. Rick, do you have a speed on that severe thunderstorm? I'm going to guess 45, 30 to 45. I'll go 40 on the track. Upton 3 minutes from now. Magnolia around 15 minutes from now. In the Ginseng area around 29 minutes from now. And then it'll be Raywick around 40 minutes from now. I guess 40.
4, 5, so.
Okay, makes sense. And it's accelerated a little bit. Why? Because there is some strong winds. So Upton, Magnolia, Hodgenville, be aware. Some 60-mile-an-hour winds are possible. And as we noted, this along and south of the western and bluegrass, if we're to get severe, you're the most likely location for that. When does the severe weather risk in Indiana end? It may not ever get started, if I'm being completely honest with you. But that said, as this rain goes by, it obliterates the atmosphere. 2 to 3 hours, worst case, at most. Canaan, Indiana, Daisy Hill, Indiana, not overly concerned about severe. In fact, as I mentioned in my video earlier, I would not have even included you in the slight risk. I would have gone marginal. Emily's asking, why do they rate tornadoes on structural damage and not damage plus force impact? So force, if we go into what causes damage is force. So an example would be is you need to exert X amount of force on a structure to lay it down. What we've always known is that we cannot get radar data on every tornado at the ground level because we know that rotation can be stronger aloft than the ground. So we could never rate tornadoes based on wind speed alone. We knew that if we did, that we would never get it right. In fact, there would be tornadoes that could cause damage and radar would never see them. So the EF scale was generated and developed by Dr. Theodore Fujita. It was originally the F scale, and then I think it was right around 2010 is when we decided that we could do better with the structural engineers to determine the type of force that would damage structures. And so we then went into what we call the enhanced Fujita scale, or the EF scale. So the EF scale was generated and has become the gold standard of what we use. But the EF scale has its limitations in that if a home is damaged and it's not well built, it limits how strong we can rate it. And this is one of the challenges. Some have proposed using Doppler radar, the mobile Doppler radars, to augment and then use those to help us rate tornadoes if we get something, let's say, towards an EF5. I would argue strongly against that, because what happens if one of those occur where there's no mobile Doppler radar? What's going to happen is where those mobile Doppler radars are, we would end up with more higher-end tornadoes. The problem is that could highly skew them, because they could occur more of where they are, and they may not be going to certain areas to chase. And so that would then create a significant bias in the database. And so while I do think that could help us know when the higher-end tornadoes occur, it could cause significant bias. And it is, I think, not a good idea. So it's a fair question, and that's the thinking on there. So let's see, what time Mount Washington? It's there. This is it. The rain's moving in, thunder, lightning for maybe an hour or two, and then it will move down, move away. The chance of you seeing severe is not very good if you're in the Mount Washington area, and I would argue it's actually quite low. Rick, any rotation in that area on that line? I'm seeing a little bit of a push on the southern side there near Upton. You seeing something similar?
Tiny bit. It's not really gate to gate. It's still pretty spread apart.
Okay.
But it's definitely worth keeping an eye, because there is a little notch on reflectivity.
Okay, so we're looking at what's going to go between Sonora and Upton right now. We know that there's rain that's ahead of it. Did they just go toward possible on it? Because I saw an update there. Let me.
No, not as far as
Okay, let me see with the new on my system. They did go toward possible. So they're obviously seeing what we're seeing. I would again let you know that if a tornado warning was issued, we'll end the video immediately, go on TV, and you would be able to watch that way. So a severe with tornado possible, and you could see why that was issued, because we got that little push right near the Upton area. And are we in sales 2 mode, Rick? Sales, okay. Sales 1 or sales 2?
Sales 1.
Sales 1. Okay, so we're getting radar updates and scans. That's the area rotation we're watching that's going between Sonora and Upton. We'll continue to watch that as I answer questions. If that rotation comes up a little bit, we'll go and jump right in. But if you're, let me just give you a quick track on that. So you would know. So if you're in Tanner 10 minutes from now, there's a subtle area of rotation. It is enough that a tornado could briefly occur out of this. So we're watching that very closely. Buffalo, Kentucky, 17 minutes from now, 21 minutes from now, that area of rotation will be in Leafdale. It has shown an uptick. Let me go to the last scan. It's been there for a couple of scans. We'll see if it shows any up. And Rick, are you seeing anything that would show rotation? I'm looking on my system, a slight downtick on the latest scan. Are you seeing similar?
Scan is down. Even reflectivity doesn't have that same inflow notch it once did.
Okay, so
which is great, but it's going right between Sonora and Upton right now.
Okay, Rick noting that the rotation's coming down on his console as well, and that notch, that rotation area in reflectivity looks less. Rick, any debris signature whatsoever that would raise your concern?
Nothing.
Rick's seeing no rotation on that. So back to questions again. We've got eyeballs that are watching it very, very closely. Raining hard in Louisville right now. Good to know. Not severe. I like hearing that. Let me rephrase that. I don't like hearing that. I love hearing that. Pouring in E-Town right now. Let me take you to E-Town. The storm is in the E-Town area. Since again I've got you here, I'm going to go over to my camera in E-Town. We love having our camera network. It is super valuable when we're trying to show you what's going on. So here's the view out of E-Town right now. That is from our camera in E-Town. Anything that scares me? It's not a big deal. This is Bardstown right now. Storm approaching, a slight delay updating on that. There we go. To Bardstown, rain falling right now. That storm is heading south of Bardstown, just rain in the Bardstown area. Nothing that's overly concerning there right now. Again, I'll go back over to radar, answer some more questions. Kim is saying you're our favorite meteorologist, and you explain weather in a way we can understand. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm going to put myself back in the box so you can watch radar, and I'll zoom back in again to our severe thunderstorm warned storm that is approaching the Hodgenville area. Corydon, I don't think you're going to see severe. I don't think you should ever been included in the enhanced. I think that was a monumental error that the Storms Prediction Center would have been fine if they had made the adjustment at 4. They did not. They doubled down, and it was a bad move. Shepherdsville, is there severe potential for you tonight? I think it's very low. I think it's very low. I noted earlier that I didn't have a problem with you being in the slight, but it may even be a generous slight. Light rain in Fern Creek right now. Appreciate that update. Thank you, Marc Weinberg, for coming on again from Felicia, of course. You know, Rick and I kind of take this as we're here. You know, we might as well do a Facebook Live, and in the end of all this, if we can help you guys, that's what we signed up to do. Rick doesn't need to say this. I'll say it for him. Rick came in early today, and Rick has worked an obscene amount of hours. I stood shoulder to shoulder with Rick on Friday with the sinking feeling that we both felt watching that storm moving into Somerset and London. You know, we have gone through so much severe weather as a team, as a group together. Rick and I work so much together sometimes that you can probably see on TV that we can think. If I'm thinking something, Rick's normally one step ahead of me and vice versa. He's exceptional at what he does with an unbelievable work ethic. If you don't follow him on social, he's a great follow. Exceptional meteorologist, an incredible radar meteorologist. I've worked with him for a while, and he is the guy that comes into office every day trying to be the best he can be, always learning and always trying to see how he can become the best he could ever be tomorrow. In my department, in my experience in life, those are the guys, when you see them, you want them on your team. And Rick is that guy. Grayson County in the all clear, so Grayson County, all clear for you. I think that your risk is now passed. Mark, is Richmond, Kentucky in danger? We're watching the storms. My opinion, what's going to happen here is so that we have widespread rain over the southern part of Kentucky. And let me put this in motion since, again, you know, I've got you here and I can answer the question because I've got a weather system in front of me. So what's going to happen is the storms that are generating over Tennessee disrupt the flow to the north. The disrupting of that flow to the north would then lower the fuel. We already know that these are not working with ideal wind energy. In particular, from 0 to 3 kilometers above the ground, which is about 2 miles, there's a monumental weakness in the wind field. That's what allowed me to make the forecast that called the enhanced bogus, because it was in the data, it was real, we knew it was real. That's why when the tornado watch came out, the Weather Service, seeing the same thing that I'm seeing, only limits that to the far southern part of our area. So what that means is, as you go towards Richmond, that at some point this southern part of the line should grenade the north. If you're in Richmond, and I'll show you where Richmond is in case you're just watching here, that line that is near Litchfield is on trajectory to go towards Richmond. My sense is that a slight risk is probably enough for your area. Going more than that, I think, would be aggressive. So I can't rule out some rogue severe where you are. I think that the southern line is going to be overtaking it and weaken that northern edge. So it's a great question. I know not in our area, but my son is in Nashville. I can answer that question because, again, the beauty of what we do is that what we have found with the Facebooks is that we get people from all over the country that jump in here and watch them. So the threat now in Nashville has come down, but you can see severe weather move through. So don't ever feel bad about asking a question that's outside of our area. I think everybody in here, we have a really, really warm heart within our viewing area, a compassion for most. And I don't think anybody within our area would ever say, only focus on my area if somebody needs to know about a loved one elsewhere. Again, I know the area really well, and the compassion that Kentucky and Indiana have are world-class. We have world-class people here. How about in Somerset, Kentucky? So it's a fair question, and obviously we know why you're asking. So the storms that are now moving south, the hope here would be is that these affect the fuel that would feed the storms going towards Somerset and London. What I would tell you is that there is a severe threat for Somerset and London. And it has a lot to do with the fact that we don't know at what point those storms to the south would fully disrupt. And since you are talking about an area that's further south in Kentucky, the severe chance would be higher and the isolated tornado threat would be higher. So that is an area that we would have to watch. Mount Washington, I think it's a no-go for you on severe. Marion County, Marion right now, we're watching you really closely. Rick, you've been eyeing Marion County. Let me come back over to you. Lebanon. Let's go specifically Bradfordsville, south through Campbellsville and Greensburg. Tell us what you're seeing.
I'm seeing
Lebanon. Let's talk Lebanon.
Lebanon, okay. So Lebanon, I'm not seeing any signs of rotation whatsoever. Okay. But if that severe thunderstorm warning happens to get expanded, then they will most likely be included.
And so we're on the same page. You're talking about the one that's behind it near Hodgenville.
Correct. The one that's in Hodgenville for tour possible and 60-mile-per-hour winds.
And speaking to that, have you seen the rotation come up or down since the tour possible was issued?
I would say it actually looks even more diffuse now.
It's falling apart.
I mean, it's not what it was. The rain is really filling in. I mean, we're talking a lot of rain on the southern edge. It chokes it off. I mean, it means it's not going to have as much fuel to work with. So that's actually a positive sign that we're seeing more rain filling in on the south side, because that will be the demise. I mean, you know, storms, they're born, they have a maintenance phase, and then they go away. So this one seems to be, you know, it's holding, but it's a slow demise, I guess we could call it.
Okay.
So that one, not seeing any rotation. You did mention Washington, Marion County. I'm not seeing any rotation inside there. There are some stronger winds with that line that extends from Bradfordsville. That's down through Merrimack. And around Mansville, every once in a while, there's a little bit of rotation aloft, but nothing serious, nothing that I'm concerned about. And you just follow that line all the way down 68 into Campbellsville. And then Greensburg, you are now on the backside of some of that heavy rain. It's just about to end for you. So right now, nothing serious to be concerned about, just that one lone severe thunderstorm warning, but no issues in terms of rotation. And
Rick's going to continue to keep eyes on that for you guys. Again, the tornado watch has now been canceled for Grayson County. So the Weather Service is doing what we appreciate, and they're being proactive in canceling the watch as is necessary. And as this line goes through, they'll cancel the watch. Louisville was never under the watch. Louisville did not ever need to be under the watch. Will there be school closings in Hardin County because of the flooding? So if there is flooding ongoing right now, that would end within the next 2 to 3 hours as the rain comes to an end, probably 60 to 80 minutes from now. Bardstown, thunderstorms moving in your direction, but the severe part's south of you, so I don't think you're going to see severe. Somebody's saying thanks to Mark and Rick for keeping us updated. Absolutely, guys. I mean, that's what we're here for. You know, in the end of this, I say this a lot, we'll rest this weekend, and we're both going to really enjoy summer. We both, I don't know about Rick, I don't want to speak for him, but
no, you're right, you got it.
So somebody has asked me, Mark, what's my favorite season? And I would tell you summer. And I think people are surprised to hear that, knowing I'm a storm chaser. I have a radar background, did research, but I also remember seeing all of this destruction. And I know what it means. I know what it means for us and the stress level. I know how many gray hairs it's going to add. And I know when it's sunny and quiet outside, I'm probably not going to add gray hair. I'll probably be eating some ice cream from time to time. And I'm probably going to do some scuba diving and enjoy the tranquility and peacefulness of being underneath the ocean. I'm looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to that after the storm season ends. So, and I'd love some clear skies too, so I can capture some amazing images of what's above us to show you guys. Let's see. Somebody's saying, appreciate your analysis from Marguerite. Thank you, Marguerite. We appreciate that. Let's see. Did they make this? Did the Storms Prediction Center make this bigger than it needed to be? So, all I will answer that question with is what I told you last night. And I'm just going to tell you my forecast, and I can't speak for the forecasters of SPC because only they can. It became quite evident last night, if you watched me on TV, that the enhanced risk should be in the southern part of Kentucky. And I said specifically along and south of the parkways, and I said more of southern Kentucky south. What we're seeing right now that's generating the isolated severe, one warning, belonged in the slight. The data this morning came in. The Storms Prediction Center, not only did they not move it southward, they moved it further north. At their update at around, let's say it was around noonish, they doubled down. Their update at 4 p.m. after data had come in and made it abundantly clear that we did not belong in an enhanced risk for Louisville and that the enhanced should only be in the southern part of Kentucky. They doubled down again. I haven't seen what they've done in the latest, if they have moved. They do have an update that comes in. It's not for another hour. My guess is they're probably not going to double down because it's obvious. But I can't tell you whether they made something bigger than it should be. I can tell you without question, with factual evidence to support obviously what has occurred, that we should not have been under an enhanced risk in Louisville. It was a bad forecast for Louisville. It never verified. I just can't answer why they did it. thunder in New Albany right now. Appreciate that. And this is the thunder and lightning in Metro right now. It is not severe, but I'll give you a view of that. And you can see this isn't going to last ultra long. Sorry, joining late. Any rotation on that or hail in that severe warning heading towards southern Nelson County? Fair question. I'm going to jump in there with a scope. I'm sure Rick hears me and always is looking. Rick, what I'm seeing is rotation that is diffuse and certainly not what it was when they had the severe Wator possible.
Seems to be a lot more linear.
Okay, and Rick is noting more of a straight line here. And hail, it doesn't look like any hail is in there right now. So, fair question. Wind, rain, and thunder in Valley Station right now. Appreciate that. Let me know if you see anything that could be damage, but I suspect that we will not see it because there's not much wind in the lower part of the atmosphere in Metro Louisville. Downtown Louisville usually misses the good storms, so downtown Louisville on Friday saw an 81-mile-an-hour wind gust. There are trees down all over downtown, actually. 81 miles an hour, so you know, is the second strongest wind ever measured at the airport in Louisville. Any guess what the strongest is? Actually, I'm going to look to the side. You guys are going to get a chance to answer this. There's a slight delay. So if you can answer it, I'm going to give you the weather pat on the back, which is literally worth nothing other than my admiration. What year, what day was the highest wind ever measured in Louisville recorded? And I will tell you it was 84 miles an hour. With the wind that occurred on Friday is the second strongest wind ever measured in Jefferson County in Louisville. So let's see if anybody is going to guess the year that Louisville has the strongest wind ever measured. Windstorm of 09, Kevin is guessing. Not accurate. Frank, you win the Weather Admiration Award for 1974. Frank guessed it in April 3rd, 1974, as the tornado was going by and generating over the fairgrounds. An 84-mile-an-hour wind gust was measured at the airport. When it went through Northfield, it turned into an F4 tornado, which is obviously much stronger winds, but those winds weren't sampled by the official site. So great, and there's a bunch of other people that are guessing 1974 there. So you guys are on it. Rick, what time is that warning until?
This one is through
8:10, 8:15.
7:55.
Oh, 7:05.
Oh, no, that's 7:55. My mistake.
Okay. Let me check behind.
Yeah, check.
So okay, they got 830 right now. So I'll stay with this for a little bit longer since we do have still an ongoing severe thunderstorm warning, but I think both Rick and I would agree that it would have breached that warning by 8:30. So a lot of people guessing 1974. You guys are great on that one. Somebody said before my time. So it actually is before my time too, but you know, so we all in my field grew up as we studied things, and 1974 is the elite of the elite of the elite. And all of us studied it in college, and still even to this day tend to look back at that data just in utter awe of the real estate that was covered with the absolutely violent spatial parameter. It covered, I think, the largest space that violent parameters have ever covered in recorded history. It was just a remarkable day. It was, and it's scary because I say this a lot. Once something happens, you know that what Mother Nature is capable of. And you know that 1974 is going to happen again someday, because we know that in the worst case scenario, Mother Nature has that in her ability. And that's scary. That's scary. We'll be prepared if it ever happens again. And while we're doing this, we hope it doesn't. More questions here. Raywick. So the storm right now with the gusty winds, the probably 40 to 60 are moving towards Raywick. ETA is probably about 30 minutes. So we're watching that in Raywick. Remember, that's coming after quite a bit of rain. Logic should dictate that we would see somewhat of a decrease in intensity, but it's not impossible. And that, you know, if you're in Marion County, outside, once this leaves the southern part of Nelson County, you would be in line with it to get the best chance of a warning moving forward. Let's see. Oh, somebody mentioned this. This is actually good information here. Somebody said that we had an 86-mile-an-hour wind measured in at Bowman Field. So that's actually an interesting one. That's not the official site, but that is good information from Rusty, noting that an 86-mile-an-hour wind at Bowman Field, July 6th of 1966. Great info there. We were speaking to the official site, so that is good info. You can hear the thunder and lightning outside in Louisville right now. Let me go back down to the bottom if there's questions. Any more questions here? Is there an average amount of years that a tornado hits a location more than once? There is not. Everything is random, and you know there is no average. If we did calculate it, it would just be random statistics. Let me just check with the Weather Service again really briefly here to see if we're getting any power lines or anything down. Simpson County reporting water on roadways. Trees and power lines down being reported on Peach Street in Franklin. That's Simpson County Emergency Management. So that's within our viewing area, what we know here still. Back over to Q&A here. Rain and lightning in Jeff. New Haven, Boston area. So New Haven, the strongest winds are going to go just off to your south on that one. They could be producing some 60s, but it does look like it's getting really hurt hard by the widespread rain and thunderstorms to the south. I get this question a lot, is tornado alley shifting. So I would tell you that I don't think that it is. I would tell you that we've always known that our area it existed. So there's what we call traditional tornado alley, that's the plains and then into the southern and the northern Great Plains. We've always known that was there. It's always existed. We have a huge visible site there. So we just always knew that we were able to find more tornadoes there. There's also what we call Dixie Alley that goes through Kentucky, southward into the southeast. Areas like Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, we always knew this area existed. And it's always been an area that we knew had a lot of tornadoes. But what we know is that we weren't able to find as many of them because it's much more treed. So in the current technology, of course, because we have drones, we have helicopters, we have more people in these treed areas, we're finding significantly more tornadoes. We're finding significantly more tornadoes. That doesn't mean that they didn't exist in the past. In fact, I would argue most of us know they did. We just didn't find them all. And so now if you do statistics and you just strictly do, is tornado alley shifting? Well, of course, we're finding more tornadoes in areas that are treed that we never found before. So has it shifted, or was it always there? I would argue it's always been there. We just didn't have the statistics to back it up, and now we do. Good question, though. Very strong winds being reported out of Monroe County right now in southern Kentucky. So let me just take a look out. All of the warnings have now expired except for the warning that's now in effect for, this is southern Nelson, this is eastern Hardin, and that's where we have and also LaRue. That is the only warning as it stands right now anywhere in Kentucky. And as I noted, the line is getting nuked by the rain ahead of it, and it makes total sense that this is happening. So makes a lot of sense there. Another question here, let me go back. I think it was somebody asking if people should open windows during tornadoes. I think I saw that, maybe I'm just imagining it, but I would answer it. Windows, when people were kids, they told them to open windows. It's true, that is factual. Was it a mistake? 100%. So at the time, what was believed in my science is that the low pressure of the tornado was causing homes to explode. What we know now is that was not true. And so at the time, the thought was, well, if you open the windows, it equalizes the pressure inside your house with outside. We know that the pressure gradient is not large enough to cause that. We know it's actual wind that is causing the houses to get obliterated, not pressure. So opening the windows is not recommended. It is a terrible idea because now the wind can get into your house, it can lift up your roof off your house, and the whole house then can fail. So fail points on homes are roofs, roofs, roofs. That's the number one fail point. Number two is non-anchored to the foundation. So you should not open your windows during tornadoes, and that is a really good question. How much rain should Louisville get? It's probably going to be a ½ an inch. Not going to be a huge amount. Let's see. Yeah, somebody mentioned that they used to tell people to open windows, and that is factual. It was the advice, and you are right in saying that. Middletown going to be okay. Middletown's not going to see severe weather. You are fine. Double rainbow in Corridon. Let's see if I can get to my Corridon camera here really quickly. So remember, when the sun comes out behind this, it's classic stuff to generate rainbows. Do I have the Corridon camera in my show right now? I do not. Let's see. I couldn't show it, but I could pop it behind me, Rick. Let me see. If you can put that camera behind me, I'm going to aim the Corridon camera east to see if we can catch that rainbow. And Rick's going to pop it up in the monitor behind me. So the sun is indeed popping out in Corridon right now. So just so you know, when you're looking for a rainbow, what you would do is put your back to the sun and look in the other direction. There she is. Oh. That is awesome! Yes! Let me go up here so we can.
That's a good one.
That is a vibrant double rainbow in Corridon right now. Moving the camera slowly over. Okay, there we go. So you can see behind me. So look, guys, Corridon camera. Secondary rainbow right here. Primary rainbow right there. A vivid double rainbow right now occurring in Corridon. Louisville should be on track to get the same. We should, when that rain ends, get a super vibrant double rainbow in Louisville. Let me go over to that camera, and I'm going to actually set up our Louisville camera so that we can catch that vibrant rainbow. It'll be a beautiful one when the time is right. The time may not be yet because we still have ongoing widespread rain, but once that rain starts to come to an end, what will happen is the sun will cut underneath, get into the back, and we will be able to get a great, great rainbow. This is just, again, a beautiful candidate to get a rainbow here in Louisville. So again, I'm going to set that camera up so that we're looking generally due east. That would be where we would be hunting for the rainbow, and we'll be continuing to watch to see if we can get that in Louisville. Really cool to catch that, and you can see it's still behind me on the camera back there. It is a beautiful double rainbow. I'm glad we're showing that and not damaged. Really, really, really glad. Great question. Somebody says, what causes a rainbow? So this. What? This is a mirror. So I'm going to tell you what happens when I look in a mirror. The image flips over, right? Have you ever looked in two mirrors where you have one mirror here and then another mirror here, and then what happens is every time you look through the mirror, the image flips over? Well, why? So think about it like this. The light that's coming in, technically, is all colors. What happens when it goes through a raindrop is the raindrop has a different speed for different bands of colors. So once it starts then to spread out the light into the red, green, blue, violet, all those colors spread out. So as they hit the back of the raindrop and come back out toward you, now those colors, which are just white light, have separated into the spectrum. And so what you see then is light going into a raindrop, bouncing off the back of the raindrop and hitting your eyes, and you see a rainbow. What happens in a double rainbow? You get light going into the raindrop, it bounces once, bounces second time, and comes back to your eyes. Since it bounces twice, the colors invert each time. So the colors of the secondary rainbow from the violet over towards the red are opposite. So I'll show you. On the rainbow here, notice on this side on the primary rainbow, red goes over to green. On the secondary rainbow, red is on the opposite side of the rainbow and the green's on the opposite side. So the colors flip and reverse on rainbows as the colors go through, and that's why whenever you see a secondary rainbow, the colors will always be backwards. Somebody is asking if they can see radar again. The answer is 100%, because we've got a live video going, and why not show you what's out there right now? So let me put you back in a box. I'll keep that behind me, by the way, the double rainbow. So you can see non-severe absolutely embarrassing that Louisville went under an enhanced, and all I can say is I'm sorry. We didn't issue the enhanced. I hope that my information was able to tell you that this was going to go belly up and be a flop in Louisville. There is a thunderstorm right now over Bardstown. There's tons of rain ahead of this.
The one in Hodgenville is falling apart, by the way.
Okay, Rick noted that Hodgenville is absolutely falling apart, so we may not even see a downstream issue on this. And then Columbia, once that moves through, once this all gets out of the area, the severe weather threat would be eliminated. And again, this was an embarrassing slight risk. I hope that the Storms Prediction Center learned something from this one, because it's not the way we should be doing business. Let's see, what else here? Coming down here, winds strong in Shepherdsville from Jessica. Non-severe, but definitely some gusty winds on that thunder and lightning that's coming through right now. Melissa Phillips saying your info was great and we trust you. I would say thank you, guys. All I try to do, I see what goes on around me, and I'll just say this. One of the more well-known storm chasers today made a post that said strong EF2 plus tornadoes, and he mentioned some cities, the person did, and mentioned Louisville. And I almost threw up when I saw it, because it's bad business. It's horrible. Not only did Louisville have no chance of seeing a strong tornado, the Storms Prediction Center's forecast, which was wrong, didn't have that strong tornado threat coming past the southern part of our area. So it was solely to try to get you to watch the feed. And if that's what this has come down to, I don't care how it affects other people. I don't care that this state just went through an EF4 tornado that killed 19 people. I don't care. I don't care the fear they felt. Now, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to scare them. And I'm going to scare them, and maybe they can watch my video. And maybe if they watch my video, I can make more money off of YouTube or off all these residuals. And all that makes me want to do is throw up. It's so messed up. It's so messed up. It is not who we are as meteorologists. It's not what we stand for in the weather enterprise. I know that there are many that have gone rogue now out of what we do, but it's awful. And I would say, as I always say, go to a source that you trust, not one that's going to sensationalize things and not one that's going to scare you into watching. And it is disgusting to me to hear somebody mentioning strong tornadoes were possible in Louisville today, because there was anybody that has any knowledge of weather knew that wasn't happening. That was not happening. So somebody's saying glad to have a peaceful thunderstorm. Agreed. So I'm going to ask the Weather Service, Rick, is it, I see you watching a little area of rotation in Adair County. I'll come back to that. The warned storm, is there anything in there that bothers you at all anymore? No. Okay. I'm just going to ask the what?
Winds, I'm seeing maybe 35 miles
per
hour. So this is, not even half of what's severe.
Okay. Hold on one second. So we're just going to see if the Weather Service is going to keep that. I will tell you, if they are not going to keep that warning, what we're going to do is eat. Rick and I are pretty hungry, and it's been crazy busy couple of months. So somebody, Daniel said, as a former storm chaser, that must hurt. It's fair. So this is true, and since, I think you guys are in here, my background is, so I went to University of Oklahoma. That's where I got my degree. In 1996, I started doing research with the Doppler on Wheels crew. That is a mobile Doppler radar that went around. And what we did is we then did deploys on hurricanes. We looked at things like fronts, cross-sectional areas in fronts. I worked on a radar project in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So what we were trying to do is retrofit. If you've ever driven by an airport, you see a really fast spinning radar that looks orange. So that's called an ASR 9. So what we tried to do with MIT is develop a package that we could add onto the ASR9 radar that would allow us to determine when microbursts occurred. So MIT had developed that, and I was the ground truth radar for that in the mobile Doppler radar out in Albuquerque every single day for a few months, just burying my face in radar every single day, looking for wind and microbursts and downdrafts so that they could see whether the package they had developed for the ASR9 was actually accurately determining. So my background is radar and research and storm chasing. So I started storm chasing in 1996. 1998 rolls around. It's October 1998. October 4th, 1998, I go out storm chasing. I catch a storm going through Watonga, Oklahoma. The storm then I captured video of. The video then goes worldwide on that video. CNN at the time was quoted as saying that it was one of the most thrilling and dramatic tornado videos of all time. And so, by the way, the warning has been canceled. So CNN then goes and says it's one of the most thrilling and dramatic tornado videos of all time. New York Post does an article about me, and then this is when things start to get crazy in my life. So at that point, in 1998, I'm a first-year grad student. And I get a call from Maury Povich asking if I would go on a show at the time. And then December, David Letterman asked me if I would come on the show. So I go on David Letterman in 1998, and David Letterman did a 6-minute segment on me about severe weather, about tornadoes. It was really cool. You know, in 1998, I'm this 23-year-old kid. David Letterman was calling me the kid. He said, "Can I call you the kid?" I'm like, "You can call me whatever you want, Dave. You're David Letterman." And it was really cool. It was cool as a storm chaser to see this. And 1999 rolls around. I have a monumental EF5 go through Oklahoma City. May 3rd, 1999, a day I'll never forget. I'm within a quarter mile, eighth mile of this thing going into the city. It killed 43 people. I took pride in what I did at the time, but I knew as a storm chaser, at least for me, I would never be able to do what I wanted to do. And May 3rd, 1999 changed me forever. So I was on a track when I was in grad school to get my PhD, and I wanted to teach and do research. May 3rd, 1999 happens, and it changed me where I realized that I wanted to move more on the front line of trying to help when there were tornadoes. And so for the last 26 years of my life, I've tried to do this. When there's severe weather threatening your house, I wanted to be there for you. And that has been the last 26 years of what I've done. So it is very, very difficult for me to stomach what's happening. It hurts to see storm chasers doing this. It bothers me enormously to see all of these weather pages out there now. And these are people that are, most of them, if you put blah, blah, blah weather page, you can almost guarantee they're not a meteorologist. And it really, really, really is hard for me to see. Because I've spent a lifetime trying to prove accuracy and reliability and trustworthiness. And, you know, there's no laws, rules about who can call themselves a meteorologist and who can be there for that. There are rules and laws on who could trade stocks and as a profession. You know, you have to have licenses. Accounting, you have to have a license. If you go to YouTube and you watch a lot of videos from really renowned doctors and surgeons, I mean, you go to WebMD all the time. I mean, you can't operate on somebody. It's against the law. You can't practice law because you watch this guy that's really good on YouTube and you have Googled so much about law. But in my industry, there's no rules, and it's not against the law, and it's frustrating. And we see a lot of people. I think the hardest part for us has been we just see so much second guessing coming from people that just don't have any training, and it's somewhat offensive to us. Because, you know, we dug hard and went through the school to get the degree in meteorology, and I've spent 25 years of my life developing expertise. And it just is hard to see where things have gone. So there is not a severe thunderstorm warning anywhere in the state of Kentucky. I'll just show you guys because it is worth noting that, remember, that back line that will collapse as it gets towards us is generating some severe much closer to the low in Indianapolis. So be aware that some severe could occur on that back edge of the line. It would likely, because we've rain-cooled our atmosphere, not make it, but you can see there's not rain-cooled air west of Indianapolis. Before I end the video, I'm just going to go back to that camera because I want to see in Louisville if we have a rainbow. We've got sun now here in Louisville, so let me see. There should, Rick, do we still have rain in Louisville?
Sure do.
So we should have a rainbow here. I'm going to scan the skies because I'm a nerd. Boom! There's the double rainbow. This is Weather Geek Engage. Double rainbow live in Louisville right now. Let me post this because I want everybody to see. Okay, so I'm just posting it so that everybody out there can enjoy the double rainbow, whether you're in the video or now watching it. So guys, Rick and I are going to grab a bite to eat here real quick. We've got some food in the break room that's getting cold, and I would like to have it a little warm. So everybody that's in here, thumbs up, hearts if you guys appreciate the Facebook Lives. Remember, you can share the video on your page at any point, and people, even after the fact, can come through and watch it. It's very important, and for all of you that are in here right now, if you don't follow my page, please do. When the video ends, just go right up there and click like or follow, and that way you get an alert when I do my Facebook Lives. So if there are any more warnings, we'll come back and do another live. We're watching the storms right now. If there is to be severe, the greatest chance would be in the eastern part of Adair County. That, after it moves through there, the chance will dramatically drop off. We will be watching that closely. So again, if you guys appreciate the Facebook Live, thumbs up, some hearts across the screen. Enjoy the double rainbow. Step outside your house, look towards the east, and you will see it. Remember, I make a living on TV, and I need each of you guys to head over to WDRB News at 10 to get my updates, and I'll see you guys on WDRB News at 10 tonight.